With delay after delay, it almost seemed like getting Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 into theaters was the real impossible mission. But it's almost here, and it's sure to wow franchise fans with some big swings. Dead Reckoning Part 1 was supposed to release on July. Then it was moved to November. It was then delayed again to May and then to September. After briefly being set for July, it was finally moved forward to July, which is hopefully where it will stay. All the release date shuffling has to do with the coronavirus pandemic, which majorly affected filming for the Dead Reckoning movies. Variety reported that production was shut down in February. In December, after production resumed, Tom Cruise famously lost his cool when some people on the set weren't following COVID protocols. Deadline notes that the film's release date was also affected by Top Gun: Maverick, with Paramount Pictures bumping Dead Reckoning Part 1 to make way for Pete Maverick Mitchell and his fighter jets. It seems like the July release date for the first part will stick, with Part 2 set to follow on June. The plot: the makers of Dead Reckoning Part 1 have done a pretty great job of keeping the story under lock and key. That said, it does seem like the stakes will be huge, possibly existentially huge. Henry Czerny's Eugene Kittredge tells Ethan Hunt, "Your days of fighting for the so-called greater good are over." Variety has reported the first film will end with a pretty massive cliffhanger, and writer-director Christopher McQuarrie told the Light the Fuse podcast that Dead Reckoning refers more to the events of the second film than the first. So it seems that the first installment will be setting up some major stakes for the second. It also seems like things will get pretty emotional for the characters, such as Rebecca Ferguson's Ilsa Faust and Simon Pegg's Benji Dunn. When it comes to casting talented actors, the Mission Impossible movies spare no expense. The cast, after all, they're helmed by the biggest movie star alive, Tom Cruise. Dead Reckoning Part 1 marks the return of some beloved characters from the Mission Impossible franchise. Simon Pegg will reprise his role as the tech wizard Benji Dunn, while Rebecca Ferguson will return as the deadly Ilsa Faust. Additionally, Ving Rhames will be back as the skilled hacker Luther Stickel, making him the only character to have appeared in every Mission Impossible film besides Ethan Hunt. Vanessa Kirby, who previously appeared in Fallout, is also coming back as the notorious White Widow. Henry Czerny will also return as Eugene Kittredge, who was in a rather explosive scene in the original Mission Impossible film. "I can understand you're very upset. Kittredge, you've never seen me very upset." Dead Reckoning Part 1 will feature a talented cast of both seasoned veterans and exciting newcomers. Fans of Agent Carter will be delighted to see Haley Atwell take on a leading role, while Palm Clemente from the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise is sure to bring her own unique energy to the film. The iconic Cary Elwes, known for his role in The Princess Bride, is also set to join the cast. In addition to these stars, the film will also feature a host of other talented actors, including legendary character actor Shi Wyam, Mark Gatiss of Sherlock fame, Indira Varma from Game of Thrones, and beloved comedian Rob Delaney. With such a talented ensemble, Dead Reckoning Part 1 is sure to be a thrilling and unforgettable experience for audiences. S.I. Morales, who you may recognize as Camino del Rio from Ozark or LT, Tony Rodriguez from NYPD Blue, will star as the film's big bad. The Mission Impossible movies have boasted some true auteurs, such as Brian De Palma, John Woo, J.J. Abrams, and Brad Bird. Indeed, until Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation, each installment had been helmed by a different filmmaker. Starting with that fifth film, directing duties have gone to Christopher McQuarrie, who has directed every installment since. McQuarrie and Tom Cruise evidently have a great rapport. In addition to his work on the Mission Impossible franchise, Christopher McQuarrie has collaborated with Tom Cruise on several other successful projects. He directed Cruise and Jack Reacher and helped write the scripts for Edge of Tomorrow, Valkyrie, and Top Gun: Maverick. Before joining forces with Cruise, McQuarrie was best known for his screenwriting work on The Usual Suspects. With McQuarrie at the helm once again, fans of the Mission Impossible franchise have high hopes for the upcoming Dead Reckoning movies. McQuarrie has proven himself to be a skilled filmmaker with a deep understanding of what audiences want from an action-packed blockbuster. His previous collaborations with Cruise have been highly successful, and it's clear that the two have a strong creative rapport. All of these factors bode well for the success of the upcoming films. We're sure that McQuarrie and Cruise will be able to scale those high hopes with ease. Yes, we love the chemistry between Ethan Hunt and his IMF buddies. And yes, the fight scenes are always amazing. We also love all the espionage and intrigue and realistic face masks. But come on, the main reason we're all so crazy about the Mission Impossible franchise is because of the absolutely wild stunts Tom Cruise pulls off. The franchise has continually upped the intensity and the danger of these stunts, with the star putting himself in harm's way for fans' enjoyment. Here's the text with proper punctuation. We know Part 1 will feature an epic train crash, and thanks to photos taken at the production site, it's clear Cruise will be on top of the old-timey locomotive at some point during the scene. Cruise will also jump off the side of a cliff while riding a motorcycle. In an interview with Empire Online, Cruise revealed the extreme danger of the motorcycle stunt. During an interview, he elaborated on the challenges he faced during the stunt. If the wind was too strong, it could have easily blown me off the ramp. And if I didn't take off smoothly, we had no idea what would happen with the bike. In an interview, he shared details about the daunting challenges he faced during the stunt. The wind was a major concern, as it could have easily knocked me off the ramp. Plus, there was a risk of the bike behaving unpredictably if I didn't take off smoothly. During his preparation for the scene, Cruise emphasized his commitment to making it as thrilling and realistic as possible. It's been reported that Cruise spent several months getting ready for the stunt, highlighting his dedication to ensuring its success. The two-part Dead Reckoning had a rough start due to the COVID pandemic, which stalled production for a few months after it began in Italy in February. Cruise and his team managed to reunite in the UK after being granted special permission to continue filming. But production wouldn't officially begin again until September. According to director Christopher McQuarrie's Instagram, they soon shot the train fight sequence in Norway before going back to Rome. Part 1 then journeyed to London, Yorkshire, Birmingham, and eventually the Middle East. Filming wrapped in September. By March, Part 2 had begun filming and soon returned to Longcross Studios in England. Filming in the UK would conclude by the end of the year, and soon Cruise and the gang returned to Norway. Production reportedly took place in South Africa and Malta as well. According to Variety, the crew of Dead Reckoning Part 2 returned to the coasts of Italy to film aboard the George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier for scenes which promised to be an exciting addition to the Mission Impossible story. The production continued well into 2023. In March, The Guardian reported that the production was denied helicopter landings in Svalbard, Norway, due to the local wildlife. Production company shift. Ever since J.J. Abrams directed Mission Impossible 3, his production company Bad Robot Productions has been heavily involved in the series. Though Abrams himself declined to direct any of the sequels, he has remained involved as a producer. But the company isn't involved in Dead Reckoning Part 1. Though Abrams hasn't commented on Dead Reckoning specifically, there's an interesting behind-the-scenes reason why. In 2018, Bad Robot signed an exclusive contract with Paramount Pictures for features. Working alongside Paramount to produce exciting flicks, the Mission Impossible series clearly fell within Bad Robot's purview. But in November 2019, only months after the release of Mission Impossible, Fallout, Deadline reported that Bad Robot planned to break from Paramount and pursue other projects and partnerships. It wouldn't be long before Abrams and his company signed a 5-year deal with Warner Media that covered everything from movies and television to video games and other digital media. The Mission Impossible franchise was revived back in 1996 with the first feature film, directed by Brian De Palma. It was actually a continuation of the 1960s television series, with a key plot point being Jim Phelps, the main character of the TV series, now played by Jon Voight instead of Peter Graves, turning on his former agency. Good morning, Mr. Phelps. The movie franchise really took off after the third film, which humanized Ethan in a way previous installments failed to, and gave him something, or rather someone, worth fighting for. The franchise then took a distinct turn upon writer-director Christopher McQuarrie's involvement, which began partway through the fourth film, Ghost Protocol, and solidified with Rogue Nation. From what we can tell, the two-part Dead Reckoning is the conclusion to the story that McQuarrie has slowly been developing since he joined the franchise in. While the first 3 films were largely standalone stories, McQuarrie's chapters have consistently built upon one another. Events from Ghost Protocol impacted Rogue Nation, and Fallout directly followed the previous film. With Dead Reckoning, the plot is currently under wraps, but it wouldn't be surprising if the Syndicate or the Apostles returned in some form, just like the other characters that McQuarrie has introduced to the Mission Impossible world. Hayley Atwell is no stranger to the world of espionage. Atwell previously headlined the Agent Carter series for Marvel, which followed her titular character during the Cold War. She even hosts her own podcast alongside her Dead Reckoning co-star Vanessa Kirby and fellow MCU actor Sophia Di Martino called True Spies, which covers the world of real-life spy stuff. So Atwell clearly understands the type of role that she's playing in Dead Reckoning Part 1. Christopher McQuarrie described her character, Grace, as a destructive force of nature when speaking to the Light the Fuse podcast in. While that's not much to go on, it's clear that Grace is meant to be unlike any other character previously introduced to the world of the IMF. After 2 films featuring Sean Harris as former MI operative Solomon Lane as Ethan Hunt's nemesis, the IMF team is set to take on a new enemy this time around. It's unclear if Lane will continue to be a part of the Mission Impossible story going forward, though it seems likely, but a new character, played by S.I. Morales, is the driving force behind the dangers that Ethan must face in the two-parter. The character, about whom little is known right now, was originally meant to be played by Nicholas Hoult before the actor had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts. How, or if, Morales' character relates to the Syndicate and the Apostles remains to be seen. But it's possible that he has no allegiances whatsoever. It's possible that the IMF team won't learn anything about their mysterious adversary in Dead Reckoning Part 1. But here's hoping that we find out just who this mystery man is before Part 2. Mission Impossible 3 was a game changer for the franchise. Will Julia Mead return? Not only did the film introduce Simon Pegg's Benji Dunn, but it also gave Ethan Hunt an emotional motivation for his world-saving excursions. This is my husband, Eric. This is Rob Thorne. I worked with Julia at Mass General. Upon Julia's return in Fallout, it becomes clear that she has remarried and Ethan has kept tabs on her from afar. Though he still loves her, he's been forced to move on due to his world-saving work with the IMF, which leads to his newly budding romance with Ilsa Faust. Nevertheless, Julia proves vital to the climax of Fallout, helping Luther defuse a bomb and foil Lane's plans. Afterward, Ethan and Julia part ways once again, now with closure. The end of Fallout makes it unlikely for Julia to return, since both she and Ethan have officially moved on. The series seems to have refocused its love story on Ethan and Ilsa moving forward. Writer-director Christopher McQuarrie has been slowly reintroducing elements from past Mission Impossible installments into his overarching narrative for years. For example, Vanessa Kirby's White Widow is the daughter of Max from the film. It's clear that Mission Impossible is attempting to build a cohesive story that connects to everything that's come before. One key returning element is former IMF director Eugene Kittredge, played by Henry Czerny, who hasn't appeared since the first film. So, what has he been up to over the past years? Kittredge was eventually succeeded by Alec Baldwin's CIA director Alan Hunley, but it's never explained on screen what happened to Kittredge in the meantime. Czerny revealed that he came up with his own backstory for Kittredge following the events of the first movie-telling film. Henry Czerny, who played IMF director Eugene Kittredge in the first Mission Impossible film, shared his own backstory for the character, imagining that Kittredge had been to various intelligence agencies and learned the game well. Kittredge's realization that Ethan was right about the mole and subsequent capture of the culprit served as a springboard for Kittredge's career in various agencies, determined not to be schooled again. Meanwhile, Tom Cruise continues to play the iconic role of Ethan Hunt with enthusiasm even after almost 25 years, constantly pushing the limits with each new Mission Impossible film. He continually pushes the limits of what stunts he can pull off in each new installment. Not only does he star, but Cruise also serves as a producer on every single Mission Impossible film. The initial reports about Dead Reckoning suggested that the two-part film would serve as a farewell to Cruise's iconic character. However, the actor has chosen not to comment on whether Dead Reckoning Part 2 will truly be his final mission, leaving fans in suspense about the future of the franchise. Outside of an official confirmation from Cruise himself, everything is pure speculation. While a two-part Mission Impossible epic certainly seems like a setup to retire the Ethan Hunt character, Cruise could very well return. Whatever the case, the partnership between Cruise and McQuarrie remains strong. The two have worked together on more than 10 different features, making it fairly likely that they'll reunite in some capacity in the future.